Hello everyone, this is Hank. I'm back today for another episode of the EOS RP. And today I'm going to talk about a special scene mode called Close-Up, SCN Close-Up. Okay, right now I'm having the camera set at Aperture value, which is Aperture priority mode, where the camera allows you to control the depth of field, the aperture. Okay. This will have a little significance later on when I give you the alternative to using the SCN close-up mode. Alright. Okay, so the setup is like I have a flower indoors in front of my computer screen. The background, the computer screen has a green thing on, a simulated background, outdoor background. The flower is real, and I'm using a micro lens, 100mm f2.8 EF lens. Okay, and I set it up very close to the photo right now. Right? And if those of you that watch my how to set depth of field preview button, then you would know that what we're looking at now, even though I have it set at f8, what you're seeing is a depth of field at 2.8, which is the widest aperture of the lens. Okay, and at 2.8, this whole thing is kind of blurry. You can't see very much. Okay, so we'll get back at that. Because it has a certain significance to what we're talking about today. Okay, so now in order to switch over to SCN mode, you use mode dial, and you just switch it. It doesn't matter which way you go, but go left or go right. Eventually you get to the right mode, and you press that. Okay, and then you scroll up and down to get to the symbol of the flower, and that's a close-up mode, and we're going to talk about close-up mode. As the title suggests, that you use this mode to take pictures, close-up picture of small subjects like flowers, coins, the face of your favorite watches, that sort of thing. Okay, and press OK. Now, what you see is essentially the same photo, that preview that we had on the AV mode. Now, if you press the shutter button halfway, and then you see the setting. It's set 1/250th of a second, f2.8 and ISO 2000. Reason ISO is so high because I'm indoors and I don't have enough light. And that is part of the problem using this mode. Okay, this mode, you're better off be using it outdoors where there's a lot of light. Okay, using it indoors is not optimum for this mode, and I just want to make clear it's not my intention to show you this side effect of it, but I have to be indoors because I need to hook the camera up to the computer to record, right? So I can't be outdoor. When you're outdoor, though, because of the availability of light, your aperture is not 2.8. It'll be set a lot higher, like f8 or f5.6. Okay. This thing assumes that you're outdoors, so it's setting 1/250th of a second for you, which is a very good speed. But for a 100mm lens, in theory, you only need 1/100. So why is it setting that? Because it assumes you're outdoor, a lot of light. So there are a certain assumption that this mode makes. Okay, so you got to be aware of that. But for this example, what you are looking at is the preview of the picture at 2.8, and you know that this picture is not usable. It's too blurry. So when you take a picture of this one, indoor, it's not going to do anything for you. So don't use this thing indoor like I did. Okay, because the photo you have here is a blurry mess. Okay, I want the main picture where I focus in focus, but I can't with this mode. But if you do it outdoor, it'll be a different story. Okay, So don't discount this mode, but keep that in mind that you have that limitation. Now you say that, what about I use a flash, right? Okay, so I have a flash mounted. I'm going to turn it on. When you turn the flash on, nothing happens until you press the shutter button halfway. And then it'll look again and say, oh, you have a flash on. It changed the setting, but not by much. That's the unfortunate thing, that if you're using it indoor. Indoor is not a good environment to be using this close-up mode. Okay, because it's not going to give you the correct, not the correct aperture. Okay, as you can see, it's slightly better, but not by much, because the main flower is still out of focus. Outdoor is a different story. It has light, it's going to crank it up. Okay, so there's a couple of things. For the lack of a better word, I'm going to offer you a couple of alternatives to using the SCN close-up mode. Okay, first I'm going to shut down the flash. Okay, now for those that using the Scene Intelligent Auto mode, okay, then you probably discovered this already. Let's switch over to that. Okay, if you switch over to this, because it is intelligent, look at what happened. It automatically switch over to close-up mode, even in Scene Intelligent. Right? The only difference here is that you don't have a control of the autofocus. Oh, I forgot to tell you that. I'm going to go back and show you that. Okay, here, when you press the shutter button halfway, it focuses for you, but it focuses on the wrong place. And you don't really have any control. Okay, it's not where you want to focus. You focus it here, and you get an okay result too, but it's just not where you want to focus. Alright, so let's go back to the other mode really quick. So today, unexpectedly, we're doing a deeper dive than I intended. Okay, we're going to go back to the SCN mode. Okay, in this mode, as you can see that here. Okay, I have manual control of the focus mode, and I switch it from the face plus tracking mode that the Scene Intelligent Auto mode does as default to spot spot focus. Okay, so I was able to move it precisely to the spot that I want the focus to be on. So with the SCN close-up mode, you have more control. Okay, also, if you think this is too bright, okay, you can go over here. Okay, you can go over here and you can darken it, or you can brighten it. Okay, so you have a certain amount of control. Okay, alright, so let's go back to the A mode. Okay, so for close-up, you can use the A mode. Okay, you don't have that much control, but you still do have some control, right? Yeah, because you can control the background blur, the brightness, the contrast, saturation, and all of that in the Scene Intelligent mode. Okay, so so you can use this mode for close-up as well. Okay, so now the second alternative is the one that I show you at first, is the AV mode. Okay, this is kind of out of scope a little bit, but I think it's really helpful to talk about it at the same time. Okay, in this mode, because you realize that, okay, you take indoor picture and you don't have enough depth of field. you don't have a decent picture. So you want to control the depth of field, and we all know to control the depth of field, maybe you do not know, and if you don't now, you will know. You change the aperture value to a higher value, and then you have it. Okay, you can press the depth of field preview button, which the RP doesn't have. You have to program it, and I happen to not have it programmed right now on my camera, so I can't show you this. So you have to take a picture and then take a look on the preview. Okay, so now you set it to f8, right? Everything still works. Why? Because it takes care of the speed for you. Okay, it get down to 125, and that's the scary part. Is like when you're using AV mode, you kind of have to be sensitive to it. You cannot be hand holding, so you got to put it on tripod. Okay, so for close-up photo, a couple of advices I might as well mention now. You should have it on a tripod, right? No, that's number one. Number two, you should be using a micro lens if you have it. Because why? The micro lens will allow you to get closer to the subject, yet still being able to autofocus. You don't have to use a micro lens, but micro lens help. Right? So those are the two things that you need to be going. Okay, so now same everything, right? It's still auto. You don't have to mess with the mechanics of setting, with the exception that you are going to crank this to something like f8, right? So that you can have the entire flower in focus. Okay, then you can take a picture. Okay, preview it. And as you can see that at f8 is a whole lot better. You can see a lot more of the flower. However, it still doesn't give you the entire thing. So what that says, like f8 is not good enough. Okay, so you're going to crank it up to f11. Notice that your shutter speed is even lower. But if you're on a tripod, you don't care. Right? So that is a huge advantage. Okay, so now if I take a photo of it, and I have pretty much everything that I needed. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. I'm sorry that we kind of get sidetracked into using the AV mode, but it is essential you realize the limitation of using the SCN mode, especially for this close-up. Indoors is not going to give you the desired depth of field for your photo. So you might want to consider using an alternate like an AV or manual, right? But if you already know manual, then why would you want to mess with the SCN mode? So, okay, with that, I think we should end here, and I would really appreciate a like from you, and if you haven't subscribed, a subscription. I really appreciate your staying until the end. Thank you. Have a good one.